Here we go. So when did you join Rotary?
I first joined Rotary in 1997,
Okay.
soon after we moved out here.
Okay.
And then I was on hiatus for a few years, came back in about, 2006, 2007, in order to run the Pancake Breakfast, which is a joint event that we do with the Early Birds
Right.
from Newburgh. So since I was in the restaurant business, they said, well, somebody might know something about food. And we got the Pancake Breakfast on track again. It was a great success. It's always a great success. Only sometimes it's a little more chaotic. I think they wanted a little less chaos than they've had in previous years. And then a couple of years later, I guess it was 2008, I came in line to be the successor president or vice president. And there were two individuals ahead of me. And one of them was a lady who became president in 2010, July of 2010. And she left soon after.
Oh.
She had some sort of prior commitment. And the next in line was a fellow by the name of Steve Cathers.
Okay.
Steve went to Korea in order to run a secondary school there
Wow.
in South Korea. So that pretty much left me, and there was a question of the succession. I hadn't had any training. I had to go to PETS. That's the president-elect training session that they do up in Tacoma. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. Just give me the crash course. So Mike Caruso, who's one of my neighbors here in Dundee, agreed to come by and bought all the manuals, and I studied them and whatnot. And, that's how I became president.
Wow. Did you hold?
It was a kind of a tumultuous time too, because
Yeah.
I just been diagnosed with brain cancer
Oh my goodness.
in June 2010, and a month later this situation came up. I remember walking down the street in Dundee, taking a walk, and I had all this emotional stuff going on in my head. What's going to happen to my health? Should I do this now? And I decided, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do it. It might be the only chance I get. I'm in line for succession. The alternatives were not good. They could either ask the previous president to come back, or I could do a co-presidency with somebody, or they could elect somebody else as the interim president in the meantime. And I said, no, I'll just go ahead and I'll do it. So we had a great year, actually. The Allison had been open for a couple of years. And it seemed to me that that would be the perfect place to have our annual fundraiser, which was an auction.
Right.
And so we did it. We moved that year from the Allison. We'd been at the Armory before that, and we typically made between $20,000 and $30,000. The first year at the Allison, we made $125,000.
Wow.
And this year, we made $150,000, made $165,000 the year before. So it's been a grand success. Ken Austin is a member of Rotary, although he's a member of the Running Club. And I think Ken was pleased to have his project be involved with the Rotary because he's been a lifelong Rotarian. His son, Ken Jr., is in the Running Club with him as well. But the other big thing was that the person who I wanted to succeed me as president is a man by the name of Grant Gerke, who is marketing director at ADEC.
Oh, right.
And I asked Grant to come over and ask him if he'd be, the successor of the presidency, and he agreed to do that. As it turns out, he was really the point man for the event at the Allison, because he was very close to Scott Parrish, who was Ken's son-in-law, and Mary Kalani Parrish, who was Ken Austin's daughter.
Okay.
Were also very involved with her mother, who was alive at that time. That was Joanne Austin, who was really the driving force behind the Allison.
Right.
So here we had this big, beautiful new facility, and just didn't want it to go to waste.
Oh, of course.
So we had the event there every year since. It's been a big success.
Nice. That sounds really successful. Yeah. Good switch. So what years were you? 2008 was your presidency?
No, 2010.
2010. Right.
2010, 2011.
Okay.
Years are hyphenated because I began in the
In-
latter part of July.
Right.
And became, then the term went into the other half of the term, of course, was in the spring of 2011, winter of spring of 2011.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. So why did you choose to become a member of Rotary in the first place?
Well, I was asked by a neighbor of mine who had been a Rotarian for a number of years. He invited me to one of the meetings within 6 months of when we had moved here.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't know a lot of people, so I thought this would be a great way to make contacts. And boy, it really was. I got to know a lot of people. They gave great presentations. It's a wonderful way to find out what's going on in the community. the speakers that they choose. We'll talk about some topic about something that's happening locally. And eventually I went on the foundation board, and after a few years I was on the foundation board for a couple of years. I don't know if you know the foundation board. The foundation is like an organization within Rotary,
Right.
but it's a separate
Right.
company because it's the one to whom you would give donations,
Right.
which would make them charitable deductions on your tax return. Or if you did the same thing to the club directly, you couldn't do that.
Right.
The foundation really oversees the funds that come into Rotary and also disperses the funds to a lot of the organizations who ask for funds. Youth organizations, that's really our mission statement.
Neat, neat. So what other positions have you held in Rotary besides president and then the foundation board?
Well, I was on the board, of course, for 3 years.
Okay.
I was on the board when I was president, and I was on the board for 2 years after that. Ran the pancake breakfast for a couple of years. Pretty much have directed the auction, the wine procuring part of the auction, because I was in the restaurant business.
Right.
I was at Joel Palmer House. And so I got to know a lot of winemakers and thought it would be a good idea to get participation from local wineries, and they've been more than generous. We had over 100 wineries donate last year for the event. That keeps me pretty busy. The event was in April this year, and I started collecting donations in January.
Wow.
It was an everyday type of activity.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite traditions in Rotary or a favorite service project that you've done over the years?
Well, the one thing I'm most proud of is making the move from the Armory to Allison. Because basically, Rotary runs on the effort of its members to procure funds. Without the money, we really wouldn't have any money to disperse to local youth organizations. That having been said, the biggest single source of our income for our foundation is ADEC. This is why bringing Grant Gerke and having the support of Ken Austin has been so important. I mean, they account for anywhere from 50 to 75% of the income of the foundation on a year-to-year basis.
Wow. And is that just donations from them?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And then is that the company who does the portable dental units too?
They do portable dental units, and they donate these. They
Right.
sell some, but anyway, the proceeds that they make are split between the two clubs.
Okay.
The amount this year came to $100,000.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're lucky to have somebody like Ken Austin here. His wife Joanne was a real gem. The great thing about the Austins is that they have such wonderful vision for the county, for Newburgh in particular, and they did that. With that in mind, they built the Allison. I don't think they ever did it looking at. I mean, I don't think they ever wanted to lose money on it, but it's a very, very front-loaded project as far as finances are concerned. But I think they did something for the community, it was needed for the community, particularly the wine community. And it's a monument to Joanne, no question about that. But Ken is equally dedicated, so are Lonnie, his daughter, and Ken, his son, there also, as well as a Scott Parrish in the running of the Allison.
Right.
Not the day-to-day, but they make a lot of the decisions.
Right, of course. Yeah. So how has it impacted you over the years? Like, has it had a positive influence on your life?
The great thing about Rotary is when you do something for Rotary, you know you're doing something for the community. And people recognize Rotary as being one of the largest beneficent organizations in the world. It really works on two levels, the international level and the local level. Each club sets out its mission statement and disperses funds from its foundation based on the nature of the request, which in Yamhill County for us is youth projects. Internationally, of course, you're probably familiar with the Bill Gates Foundation and their contributions to Rotary and eradicating polio,
Right.
and among other projects. I mean, it's great to be part of that local and international level. The other wonderful thing about Rotary, I was in Hawaii a few years ago, and I went to one of the Rotary meetings there, and you can show up at weekly Rotary meetings anywhere in the world. Tell what you're from, and you're greeted like a brother, a colleague.
That's so great.
And if you're lucky, you can walk away with a little flag from their club and present it to yours.
Oh, that's so fun.
That's a lot of fun
That's
too. You
great.
become part of a large international organization that's well respected around the world. Are you going to become a Rotarian?
I don't know. We'll see how this internship shapes up and see what happens after that. How have you seen the Newburgh Club interact internationally in your time involved with it?
Internationally, we have a subcommittee club, which is responsible for interacting with Rotary International, primarily through a fund called the Paul Harris Foundation. And that's just a vehicle by which individual members can voluntarily donate a set amount of money. I think it's $1,000 over 5 years or more if they like, and do it through direct contributions. The other thing that our club does, which was unusual, more clubs are doing it right now, is that we send a team of physicians and doctors down to Guatemala every year, and to areas that really need it. And the great thing in talking to people, Alan Methvin is a good friend of mine, also Rotarian. He has a dentist's office right over here. And Alan talks about how things have changed since he started going down. They provided free dental help. But he said, Jack, it's amazing after 4 or 5 years to look at the same maps that you looked at when you first came and were hopeless, and see that your work has really meant something to them. It's very, very heartening. And then the physicians are the same thing. Either going into areas that you've never seen, a doctor, much less a dentist, and giving them care that they need. Plus, the other thing is that we also go down with a crew of guys who are very good at structural engineering, electrical work, water work, and things like that, and who can do what's necessary in order to either fix the facility or build a new one from scratch. And that's pretty impressive. I personally have not been down yet. It happens at a bad time of the year for me, but a lot of the other Rotarians have. They all really enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun to see that change over time, especially.
I mean, you're really doing. You're going down there. You're going to another country. And what they do is they coordinate with the closest Rotary Club in that area, and they determine where they're going to go, where they're going to eat, where they're going to sleep, and so on and so forth. It's a great way to interact with another club.
Do you maintain that relationship with other clubs then? Like even when you don't have people down in Guatemala, do you guys still interact with the other Rotarians?
The other Rotarians down there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, neat. That's really neat.
Yeah. It's important to keep in regular contact with them to smooth out the following year's visit, because there's always something that needs to be smoothed out.
Right. Do you have any advice for future Rotarians or anything else important about the club that you think people should know about?
I think the important thing is to serve. I think anybody who understands, as the Dalai Lama says, the importance of compassion, a compassionate person is a happy person. Rotary gives them an opportunity to use his or her personal tools in order to give something back to the community and to fulfill your own feelings of compassion for your fellow man in any number of ways. And Rotary is a great vehicle for doing that.
Great. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any crazy memories that you've experienced in Rotary over the years, or just
the big thing about Rotary is there's a weekly meeting, and they've always put emphasis on the fact that they really want you to be there every week, because it strengthens the bond that you make with the new people that you meet, and it all comes down to people ultimately. I've made friends, become very, very close friends as a result of having met them through Rotary, and I cherish that. And that's one of the reasons I'd encourage anybody else to join. And you can come up with a joint project, an idea, and just start doing things. A number of Rotarians are involved with the Child Youth and Family Services, mentoring children. There's a reading program that a number of Rotarians are involved with as well. And even if it's not a Rotary-sponsored event, you can talk to other people about what they do and help them with that. We have a peace committee now, which is run by Mike Caruso. Any number of things. And you're only limited by what you want to do, the amount of your time and the amount of enthusiasm you have for any project.
Right. Well, I think that wraps up everything that I wanted to ask. So,
okay, Britta. Well,
yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.